Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Geeky Floorboard Society. I'm Megan,
I'm Sage.
and we are on episode 2 of our very first season, which deals with werewolves. And today, we're going to bring the dogman into it. Sage, have you heard of the dogman?
Yes. Only in passing, though. I know that we did this episode, but I don't remember much.
Well, today you'll get a nice refresher, and for anyone who doesn't know much about the dogman, this will be a good primer for you before we dive deeper into that and all other manner of bipedal canines.
Fix your mic, because I don't know if it's like you're talking too loud, but it keeps cutting in and out. And I know that we had this issue the other day. And I'm wondering if it's where it's sitting.
It might be. I had it kind of low. Yeah. Is that better?
So far it seems to be better. I'll let you know if it starts acting up again.
Okay. All right, so let's start with a basic description. Okay. So we're going to cover what is dogman, and we're going to start with just a basic description. Dogman is essentially a catch-all term for all upright canine cryptids. They are bipedal, but can also move on all fours when necessary. Depending on which legend or encounter you're dealing with, the dogman can be anywhere from 6 to 13 feet tall. There are a few distinct types of dogman, and these variants are not subscribed to by all cryptozoologists or dogman enthusiasts. These are just some ones that some people have suggested. One is type 3, which shares a lot of physical traits with Sasquatch, like a beefier build and a flatter face. There are variants of...
I will include that little graph that you have. I'll include it in the video as well.
Okay. There are variants of the type 3 as well, such as variants 1, 2, and 3, which range from lean and more baboon-like features to being a Bigfoot with a snout. The other main grouping is the canine variant, which includes 4 groups, all of which are absolute nightmare fuel.
And you will see that they are.
Yeah, that hyena thing is fucked up looking.
Yeah.
All sightings can be sorted into these groups if you subscribe to the idea of grouping dogman. The aggression levels and motives of the dogman seem to really vary from encounter to encounter, so there isn't a definitive behavioral pattern for these creatures. We will be getting into the specifics of this the deeper we delve into things, but regardless of type or patterns, all dogman should be considered dangerous at the very least. There do seem to be some specific similarities that come up in a lot of encounters, such as proximity to graveyards, flooded land, and intentional near misses. But all of these things carry into a much heavier discussion than just a basic introduction. Those near misses will come up a lot in our second Dogman episode, which will feature quite a few stories that kind of fall into that theme. And I think those are almost scarier than the idea of Dogman actually getting you.
Yeah, I think we've discussed this the first time we recorded this.
Yeah.
How, what the near misses were.
Yeah, just the idea of, oh, its claws grazed the back of my neck, but they didn't really hurt me, or its breath on your neck while you ran.
Ugh. Thank you. No, thank you.
So there is some historical precedence for the dogman. Dogman stories have gained a new kind of relevance in modern day, but they definitely stretch back much further than that. Even in ancient times, people told stories about dogmen. The cynocephali were a race of dog-headed men that apparently possessed some level of intelligence. The Greek physician Ctesias wrote about a group of them, saying they understood human language, basic crafting, cooking, and simple ritual, but were unable to speak themselves. They could only bark or yip, but often gestured, which would make sense if they had a man's body and then a dog's head from the neck up. They probably would not have the appropriate vocal cords for human speech.
I think I had this question the last time, but I don't think I asked you. What are you talking about? Some the ancient Egyptian drawings,
Yeah, it's kind of similar to Anubis.
Okay. Yeah.
The way that Anubis looks.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Greeks genuinely believed that these guys lived in the mountains.
Yeah, I can believe that.
But not the one special mountain. Other mountains. Several explorers of note wrote about encounters with the cynocephali civilization, such as Megasthenes, Marco Polo, and even the great conqueror, Alexander the Great. I had to call him great twice in that sentence, apparently. The Celts had similar tales as well of a race of dog-headed men, usually portrayed as antagonists. The exception to this is Saint Christopher, who Irish legend states was a 7.5-foot tall cynocephaly who gained the power of speech through prayer.
7 feet tall.
Why are you praying the Lakers need a center? Here in America, we have our own legends, of course. And I'm not going to delve into indigenous lore because that's not cryptozoology, and quite frankly, at this point, bringing shape-shifting shamans into the discussion is like beating a dead horse that's also being beaten by 20 other people. However, French settlers make a really interesting contribution to American lore with the rougarou. The rougarou undoubtedly derives from the loup-garou, which is just the French word for werewolf. So this iteration is simply its New World adaptation. There is still a curse involved, but it's based in Catholicism. When a Catholic doesn't follow the rules of Lent, they can fall under a curse for 101 days. Or the rougarou is a beast that hunts Catholics who don't follow the rules of Lent. The good news is it seems you can simply avoid the rougarou entirely by not being Catholic.
I have a quick question. So in that
Yes.
case, who calls into work for you?
Like if you become a rougarou?
Yeah, for the 101 days, who's calling you to work for you?
I think like your mom or like something would have to call and request a leave of absence on the grounds that you are now a rougarou. Stalking through the bayou.
Yeah, because it's like, if you have a job, you can't just like leave for 101 days.
Well, that's part of the curse. That's why it sucks so bad. I don't even think being a rougarou would suck that bad, but you're definitely going to lose your job.
Yeah,
Probably your wife's probably going to leave you
especially like
for another man.
depending on like how devoted. If you fuck up and they're like, oh well, now you're this.
Well, the good news though is that Catholics are really strict on divorce. So even to this day. So
Sorry, I didn't mean to
she's
laugh.
not leaving you just because you became a rougarou. Not unless she wants to live in sin and not be able to take communion. Although, I don't know. Maybe a church would grant you an annulment if your husband became a rougarou. I don't know. My husband's never become a rougarou. Nor are we Catholic. There are much less generalized legends as well. In Michigan, you'll find actual dogman legends dating back to a sighting in 1794. And in the Tennessee area, there's a legend of family anthropes. Pennsylvania has a surprisingly rich history with dogmen, including one from 1889 where a hunter shot a wolf, but upon following its blood trail found a man killed via gunshot. Regardless, dogman doesn't seem new to the American continent. Some people try to discredit all dogman lore by pointing out that the Boomin reports happened after Steve Cook played his song The Legend on air as an April Fool's joke in 1987. But I would argue that this argument can be debunked with a single brain cell. People didn't know this was supposed to be a joke, so they felt comfortable sharing their stories in what they assumed was an accepting environment, and as with most things, once the cat's out of the bag, it's impossible to put back in. Oh, but dogman wasn't mentioned anywhere before 1987. Yeah, well, new words for things happen all the time. People just said they saw a werewolf prior to 1987, but no one takes that seriously, so everyone latched onto dogman. The real start of the modern dogman phenomena can, however, be traced back to one starting point, and is arguably the greatest of the dogman hotspots, Bray Road. So, let's talk about some dogman hotspots. Starting off with, of course...
Sorry, Steve Cook scared me.
Oh, okay. Starting off, of course, with the Bray Road. Among the many backroads of the Midwest, there is one 2-mile stretch of country road named Bray Road. Bray Road runs through the small town of Elkhorn. Elkhorn is the county seat, with a neat little square and quiet residence. Nothing in the town, or on that little tract of road, would ever suggest the presence of high strangeness. Yet in 1991, a journalist named Linda Godfrey would be the first people to break the news to the world that Bray Road was home to a beast. In December of 1991, Linda Godfrey published her first article that covered the story of the Beast of Bray Road in the small newspaper she worked for. Her investigation would uncover shocking Bray Road told by residents, with the first real report being created in 1989 by a woman named Lorianne in Jersey. Jersey was driving home from work one night when she spotted an extremely large canine creature kneeling by the edge of Bray Road. She knew this was no dog, and so she reported it to animal control later on. Her claims were backed up by a friend of hers, who was terrifyingly charged at by a massive canine on its hind legs in October of 1991. Which is, I said it's horrifying. That would be I would drop dead. I would be so scared I'd drop dead.
I feel like if anything ran towards me that I was not prepared for, I think I would just drop dead in general.
If I just started Naruto running towards you at full speed.
If I didn't know you were there, yeah, I would drop dead probably.
To be fair, I don't think I could Naruto run at you at full speed. I think I would hurt my back.
I'm saying I think your back would hurt too much.
Yeah, I'm at the point where aging Naruto fan has to go for a Naruto walk instead, you know? A group of children.
Even then, you can't take your arms all the way back.
No, my shoulders will hurt the next day. A group of children also reported being chased by a massive bipedal canine while sledding in 1990. While these reports, as published by Godfrey, would be the start of a media craze on Bray Road, all of Wisconsin kind of seems to be a hotspot for the dogman. Reports from Paris, Holly, Milwaukee, and Iosco County in Michigan have all been documented. We will revisit a particularly frightening sighting from Jefferson, Wisconsin that occurred several years before the Bray Road sightings. Another location that holds a fair quantity of sightings is Ohio. Ohio doesn't seem to have one centralized area for sightings, rather they seem to be well dispersed across the state, from Hocking Hills to Cleveland. One sighting from Mansfield gives a sort of credence to its tale by giving the dogman a very natural trait. Twin sisters reported seeing two large bipedal canines in their trailer. Despite initially fleeing, the sisters returned in the safety of their car to see if they could spot them again, and they could. This time, not only could they see them well enough to know they were not dogs, but they could hear a distinct clicking noise as they ran on their hind legs. Godfrey noted that this could be a sign of hip dysplasia, although she suggested that maybe these particular creatures walked upright to help relieve hip pain. But I would encourage you to consider an even worse alternative. Maybe this is still a case of hip dysplasia, but it is present due to the freakish nature of these beasts. Perhaps it is a trait in older dogmen that appears due to them switching from all fours to legs so frequently, and they are by nature solely bipedal, but sometimes choose to walk on all fours to avoid detection.
Yeah.
I don't... No.
No.
I got that thought while I was reading it, and I was like, hey, I don't like that. I should class.
Yeah, just like the thought of like being out in the middle of nowhere, even just like even a local place, and then hearing just like a clicking noise. No, thank you.
Heebie-jeebies. And then, you know, I think it's even heebie-jeebier if you imagine you've come across one. You don't know you've come across one. It's on all fours. You think that's the biggest wolf I've ever seen in my life. And then it stands up and starts walking towards you, and its hips are clicking.
I would shoot myself. That's what I would do.
Hey!
I could not.
Yeah. Goodbye, world.
See that? I was not meant to see that. Therefore, I die, or the FBI is coming for me because I saw it.
Literally, like goodbye, cruel world. Oh, hope I never see that again. Other dogman hotspots exist as well, such as the mountainous ranges of Pennsylvania and the backwoods of Tennessee. It seems that the dogman also has a penchant for using national parks as its haunting grounds, perhaps due to the large amount of readily available prey and secluded nature of these locations. There are several reports from parks such as Lake Argyle, the Manistee National Forest, and even the Redwood Forest of California. Perhaps the most frightening of all is the report from the Land Between the Lakes, perched in both Kentucky and Tennessee. We will visit LBL in a later episode in this series, since there is far too much to unpack here. But rest assured, it will be well worth the wait. There's an entire episode coming up on LBL for those of you that are interested.
And I vaguely remember LBL.
You would probably remember the camper story, if you heard it.
I might not remember LBL because I was like, yeah, the monkey. That's not that one.
That's a different one. No, that is the dogman that was sighted in the Marion Forest in Indiana. He had a monkey.
She cut out, but it's the
Marion Monroe State Forest. Yeah. He had a monkey.
So maybe I don't remember LBL.
Yeah, that's not LBL. I think I did mention that in my OG Dogman episode, though.
Definitely, because I do remember the monkey.
I had to have. I remember the drawing that the guy did.
I don't remember the drawing.
I don't even cover that.
Maybe that could be in the recap.
I'll probably tack it on in the recap. I just couldn't find somewhere that it made sense. So now we're going to dive into some theories. And there are many theories on what dogman could be, and they can be divided, in my opinion, into two schools of thought: classical theories and modern theories. The more classical theories rely heavily on traditional and time-honored lore to craft their answers, whereas the more modern theories provide fresh takes of old ideas or entirely new ones. We will discuss both types, and we'll look into even the most obscure ideas, because I believe there are at least some things worth noting in those. When I define an idea as a classical theory, what I mean is that this idea falls in line with things you may have heard before when discussing other, more well-known cryptids or monsters. More modern theories may focus on exciting new science, offer a new perspective on an old idea, or be completely out of left field. In terms of classical theories, the first one is, of course, that the dogman is a werewolf. This theory really doesn't hold any weight in the larger discussion of dogman, as very few people actually believe in werewolves. But of course, there are a select few who do still believe in such creatures. And those who do believe in werewolves still may find that the dogman cannot be one, as it doesn't only appear during the full moon. Another theory is that the dogman is some sort of mutant. We've heard theories like this since the mid-1900s, made especially popular due to the rise of nuclear power. If you're familiar with entities like the Mothman, then you basically know the entire theory, because everything goes back to Mothman.
And I know that I discussed this when we recorded it the last time, is that I am on the Maryland PA border. I'm not going to put exactly where, but I am on that border. And one of the mountains, or this little mountain range that's near us, that leads into PA, CIA did a bunch of testing and stuff up there during World War II.
Yeah.
Now, what that testing is, we'll never actually know. But there was testing in these mountains right here. So it would make sense if there was, I'm willing to bet there was some nuclear stuff as well that was tested, because there's not a whole lot of trails that go up into some of them, because like, yeah, the AT runs through there, but I don't know what that was like in I think it was 1942.
42?
I think. It might have been
We didn't have
42.
We didn't have nukes then.
I know,
But
it was
weapons testing in general can cause stuff because of the chemicals.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying, though, is that we don't know what they were doing out there.
Right. That's the thing about the government. We never actually really know what the hell they're doing, because they don't tell us.
One is probably good that they don't.
But two,
like, if there's something that's gonna fuck with stuff around that area, you don't
people have a right to know
exactly what you're doing, but like, let us know, like, hey, this will be released in this area. You might have some effects, like stuff like that.
Right. Well, that's actually one of the leading theories about the Dyatlov Pass now. I'm so sorry, I can't quit yawning. The Dyatlov Pass.
What is that?
Oh well, I'll cover that at some point in our podcast then. Yeah. I personally don't find myself compelled by the mutant theory, because the majority of places the dogman is seen don't have the necessary government facilities anywhere nearby for it to make sense. Another theory is the old undiscovered species theory. Proponents of this theory put forward the idea that the dogman could be a new species of wolf that hasn't been found yet, or that it could be a direwolf that escaped extinction, which the direwolf theory makes some amount of sense.
They're 13 feet tall, I would believe.
Yeah, direwolves are huge. It would explain the hip dysplasia, because they could be evolving.
They could.
If they've managed to survive extinction, it would make sense that they survived due to some kickstart in the evolutionary process.
Yeah.
So
and we see
that at least makes...
We see that a lot in a lot of animals that were supposed to be extinct, and then we re-find them. It's just because they've evolved so quickly to adapt to environmental changes.
Right, and I mean, in my mind, that's one of the few, like, more classical theories that has a logical basis.
Yeah.
I personally find the modern theories to be more intriguing. One theory is that the dogman is an interdimensional creature. This would mean that the dogman is from another place and slipping into our reality via portals or something similar. We will talk a bit about the portals in LBL, especially. I really like this theory because I think it explains a lot. If Dogman is from another dimension, that may also mean that it is incredibly smart to know how to travel dimensions unless it is being controlled by another being or beings.
Bigfoot.
Yeah, it's Bigfoot. I think that the whole concept is super frightening, but not as frightening as the next one. There is a theory that the Dogman is less of a physical entity and more of a paranormal one, and the entire reason it does what it does is to feed on our fear. This is the theory closest, this theory is closest to what I personally subscribe to. And I first heard this theory while listening to another podcast called Belief Hole. I find this theory really fascinating because in so many of the stories, there is this element of I could get you, but I won't. These stories usually tell. I hate it. These stories usually tell of the dogman giving chase, and despite being right behind its potential victim, it just never actually catches them. Sometimes people kind of compare this to the Fae, and I do see the similarity since the Fae are actually terrifying.
Yeah, they are.
I'm Irish, so we know to be afraid of the Fae.
I'm Native American. We're scared of everything.
You know what? At this point, who can blame you?
Yeah, that is true.
The final theory is that the dogman is simply a demon. I realize this doesn't sound modern at first, but proposing that cryptids are not flesh and blood is actually not something that is super popular.
It's not. It's if any of you know anything about cryptids and everything, that's not one that's commonly ever. I think there might be like one or two cases I've ever heard of them being like, "Oh, it could be a demon."
I think maybe the Jersey Devil is a good contender for just being a straight up demon.
I feel like maybe Goatman is another one that gets talked about with it. But 9 times
Yeah.
out of 10, we just loop those two together because goats.
Yeah, and Goatman also gets looped in with like the concept
Yeah.
of Pan, the god of the forest, and
Yeah.
satyrs.
So I think those are the only two that I can think of off of the top of my head.
Yeah, and Pan is not technically a demon, but he is a deity.
Yeah.
So let's address some skeptic theories. You know, the people who are wrong. We would be remiss if we did not spend at least a little time addressing skepticism regarding the dogman. This is one of those cases where when I first delved into it, I totally understood how people could be skeptical. It's just such a fantastic concept that of course people would be skeptical. I definitely was when I heard of it several years ago. After researching it fully, though, I do think the is becoming sort of undeniable that there is at least something out there. Regardless, there are some theories that either make sense to me, or that I just find really funny to explain away the dogman. Obviously, the first skeptic theory is that everyone is lying. Moving on from that immediately, a few people have suggested that perhaps some of the sightings can be explained using furries. Sage is afraid of furries and mascots. I think most furries are probably smart enough that they know if you go out at night and terrorize people dressed as a werewolf, somebody's going to shoot you.
Yeah.
Especially because of the amount of cases that take place in like rural areas or on farms. Like a farmer will shoot you to protect their cattle, no question.
Yeah, they won't even think a second thought about it.
No. And this is not, to the skeptics' credit, this is not a common theory. But I wanted to bring it up because it did show up in my research.
Yeah.
Some also propose that this is nothing more than a wolf that has learned to walk on its hind legs to deter humans. I hate this because it creeps me out and is also kind of plausible. It was mentioned earlier that 2 of the dogmen in Ohio suffered hip dysplasia, which could be from walking on 2 legs when they're not really supposed to.
Now, we did, when we recorded this the first time, we did bring up that sometimes, like, bears who get mange or injure their front paws will walk on their back legs. And there's a lot of times where videos of Bigfoot can be debunked as a bear walking on 2 legs due to the fact that they have an injury on a paw on the front. But I can see where there's a theory of a wolf walking on 2 legs because it has been shown in bears that get mistaken for Sasquatch.
Right, and wolves can stand upright, just not for very long. This behavior is usually observed during jumping, called stiff leg jumps, and they're short and used for breaking ice or pinning small prey. And you can obviously teach a dog to walk on its hind legs, so it's possible wolves have learned to really hate when they go, and then learned how to do it whenever they wanted as a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
And as a result, some of them will get hip dysplasia because it's not a natural movement.
Yeah.
I think that one's actually fairly. I actually do think that in some cases it may be an upright wolf. Not all of them,
Yeah.
but some where it's just like there's one where a guy sees the dogman, and he's just like leaning. He's standing upright, but he's got his paw on a tree stump, like his front leg is on a tree stump. Except he describes it as having hands, so maybe not. But in my mind, if you saw that just like quickly, that could totally be a wolf. That's just chilling. Yeah. He's on his hind legs to get a better view of something.
Yeah.
Like stories like I don't necessarily think that's the case in that exact story, but I think that some of the sightings that are kind of along those lines, that could be a contender, especially if there are wolves in the area.
Yeah. And especially like we've said, like if you see a video online, obviously like I do want to say something real quick. Some of these AI videos are getting fucking wild.
Yeah,
but
I hate AI, so
I hate how realistic they're starting to look. That's one fine. But some of the videos that you see of like I don't know what type of TikTok you all are on. I'm on like game trail cameras and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times like we see on these videos animals who typically walk on all fours are on two due to injuries.
Yeah.
And so I need everyone to know that that is a very common thing that animals will do, like depending on how bad the injury is.
I mean, I have a cat that likes to sit on its hind legs and put its front paws up. And that's a domesticated cat with no injury. He's just weird. Sometimes animals are just weird.
Freya's been obsessed with laying on her back, but like trying to loaf while on her back.
Yeah, Naruto does this thing where he just lays on his back, he kind of curls his front paws, but he like splays his back legs open. He's like man spreading.
She doesn't. She pulls all of her legs in like she does when she loafs. But she's
that's cute.
And I don't
That's cute. Cats are just weird, man.
They really are. I love them. But
so the Dogman has indeed made an impact on pop culture. So we're going to kind of talk about the ways in which pop culture has influenced perception of the Dogman and how it got so damn popular so quickly. Because several years ago, nobody was talking about Dogman. And it can very well be argued that the Dogman has always been part of human culture through its historical predecessors like the werewolf and the cynocephaly. The general concept has been with us for probably as long as man has been around. However, the emergence of the Dogman in pop culture didn't start until the 1990s. As mentioned previously, reports began to pour in after 1987 legend. And Godfrey's first article in 1991 sparked greater regional interest. However, the main genesis for the Dogman becoming so prevalent was the cultural phenomenon that was... Light your sage, people. I'll give you a moment. Skinwalker Ranch. Skinwalker Ranch, a ranch in Utah, is a reported hotspot for both UFOs and paranormal phenomena. The plethora of documentaries, books, and TV specials revealed the presence of a supposed Dogman on the property, which people really latched onto. There were multiple reports of upright canines on the property, including one incident where the ranch owner and his son shot at the creature, surely hitting it, only for it to run away as if nothing happened. Whether or not you believe in the validity of Walker Ranch, it still skyrocketed the popularity of the Dogman. Since then, more and more reports of the Dogman have poured in, and it has become a hot topic among cryptid enthusiasts. Godfrey, as previously mentioned, was one of the first people to really cover the Dogman in any journalistic or serious sense. She would go on to be the top source for all things Dogman, writing numerous books and investigating many cases, including the infamous LBL case. You will hear her name crop up a lot during this, since she has done so much work in the Dogman community. She did unfortunately pass away in November of 2022, but her contributions cannot be underestimated or forgotten. If you look through source notes for my episodes, Linda Godfrey as a source for a lot of my episodes. But that is your brief introduction to Dogman. Sage, any thoughts?
My house kind of looks like it's on fire right now on my camera.
It's okay. We know you're burning, Sage.
I lit 3 pieces, and 3 pieces might have been too much, but I almost did do like the just to give it more power.
Right.
I feel like because it's just a deep dive. I know that we're getting ready to get into a lot of it with the following episodes, and I'm super excited. Definitely not a big fan of the last thing that we talked about, but obviously that's just a personal cultural thing.
And to be fair, I'm not either, but I wasn't really sure how else to communicate what location I was talking about.
If you could have just chilled with me and said the ranch, and then we could have, I wonder if we type in the ranch, Utah, does it bring it up? So as long as you don't look at places, and just scroll down, the first website to come up for ranch in Utah is the ranch that we're talking about.
I was just imagining that somebody's Googling the ranch and the song Ram Ranch comes up. Don't know if you remember that classic.
I don't think I do.
It's about being gay on a ranch. It's a comedic tune.
I'm really excited to hear more. I vaguely remember some of the stuff we have discussed in the past when we did Dark Corner about Dogman. Like, clearly I remember the monkey.
Yeah. One of the stories in the next episode that I do, not the next episode overall, because I think you have an episode in between.
I do. I have the Benedicti.
Okay. So the episode after our Benedicti episode has my all-time favorite dog story. It scares the living shit out of me to this day. No matter how many... that's one that I highly recommend you go to the original, which I will tell you what the original is, because it doesn't matter how many times I listen to it, it still scares me, hearing the guy tell the story in his own words.
With yours, obviously I found like court records, but does yours have like any actual like audio, like someone actually telling their story that you've gotten to listen to?
Yeah, the one that I'm talking about, I went back and I listened to him on he appeared on an episode of Dogman Encounters, which was Vic Cundiff's podcast. And he sounds so scared that it gives me chills when I listen to it.
See, I didn't get to like experience any of that with any of mine because, well, recording was a thing in 16th century France. Fortunately, I'm glad we weren't recording 16th century France, honestly. What would they have been? Parlez-vous, loup-garou? My sheeps! It would have been kind of cool to like, I don't know, maybe it's just like...
Sage, even if we did have it, you wouldn't have been able to listen to it and understand any of it because they'd have been speaking French.
That's true. But I was like thinking like even like Britain and stuff like that, like if you were recordings and stuff like that of like...
It's just screaming as they're being attacked.
Well, I was laughing because I have a sticker on my laptop. Actually, I have 2. Actually, I have 4. They're all from the same thing. And one of them says, "Who tells your story?" And the one under it says, "History has its eyes on you." They're from Hamilton.
On my laptop, I have a sticker of Minato. Namikaze. Minato Namikaze. And then I've got a Zuru Pop sticker.
Well, then I have next to it, I have a depiction of David Diggs, who plays Lafayette. in a boat with guns because he has a song in the musical called Ships and Guns, and then on the other side of the keyboard it says it's from a musical.
Is this a Hamilton thing?
Yeah, I said it was Hamilton.
Oh.
All 4 stickers are Hamilton.
I've never seen Hamilton.
I thought it would be a lot of history. It's really not.
Well, that's why I won't watch it. I would watch it if it was actually history.
It does talk about America's first cheating scandal.
Mm-hmm.
Which...
The only thing I know about is that he's never agreed with Jefferson once, and they've fought on 75 different fronts. Yeah, that's the only thing I know, and that's because TikTok has made me.
I made someone watch Hamilton with me one day, and I stopped it at every song, and I told them the lore and the hidden meanings behind every little thing that happened on stage.
That's how. Go ahead. I was gonna say that's how I am with Lord of the Rings. I'll be like, "Hey, did you know? Hey, did you know?" Especially when Aragorn kicks out a helmet. Did you know he broke his toe?
Well, with that one, it's like, oh, so do you see like how these two are looking at? It's like, or do you see how she talked to him? Well, okay, pay attention to this next song, or pay attention to 3 songs from here. Like, I love Hamilton.
I just don't care about musicals that much.
Well, I like it because I know it so well that I think I could probably sing you the entire thing and not miss a word. But I can turn it on, and
right?
Like, vacuum and do stuff, and I can just hear like the music and not the actual words, and know exactly where I'm at in the whole show.
I'm lying to you people. I love Phantom of the Opera. What am I talking about? All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up.
And hopefully you guys really like this and give her lots of love for this, because it has been a passion project of hers for like a while now.
My autism is showing a little bit.
My ADHD is showing, so it's fine.
But yeah, as usual, comments, questions, concerns, stories, corrections, please email us.
The email will be down in the description, as well as
sources.
Sources of what we used, and
that's about it for this week. We'll see you guys next episode.
See ya.
Bye.